This is the silent shot, by the way. Oh, wait, I wasn't supposed to say that, was I?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. I am Pat.
And I am stupendous. Stu.
He is. Today, we're talking about a game that is very near and dear to our hearts. One of our favorite games, Manila. And this game, it's one that I have brought to many different board game sessions, introduced to many different players, and everybody always loves it. Probably between the two of us, I think I would say this is probably our joint favorite game. Just the game that we've played a ton of, and it's always a good time. We like it a lot. So Manila was designed by Frans Benno de Long, who unfortunately is no longer with us, passed away several years ago. He's not known as a prolific board game designer, but he did design several highly regarded games, including Transamerica here, another game that we really like. This is probably Transamerica, actually probably his best-selling, maybe most well-known game. But when I was doing a little research for this episode on Manila, I did find an interview with Mr. DeLong where he said that out of all of his games, he believes that he thinks of Manila as his best effort, his favorite game. And I agree. It's obviously one of our favorite games. So I'm going to tell you how to play the game. We're going to show you a one-round gameplay demo of Manila, and we'll wrap it up with our final thoughts. So on the table here we have Manila. In this game, each player takes the role of a black market profiteer trying to smuggle goods into the port of Manila. And they have a stake in these different goods. There are 4 goods over here represented by these cards. Ginseng, nutmeg, jade, and silk. And players start with 2 of those cards in their hand that they're going to keep secret for the whole game. And what they're trying to do in this game is they're trying to raise the value of the goods that they have shares in, which is their hand cards, by loading them onto these boats and making them have a successful voyage up the river into the safety of the port in Manila. And when that happens, when a good safely arrives at the port, the value of that good is going to increase on this black market track right here. It's going to go up. They start at 0, and then they start going up in increments until they hit 30. And that also signals the end of the game. As soon as one good hits a value of 30, that's the end of the game. At that point, players are going to add up the value of all their shares as well as any pesos they have left, and whoever has the highest amount is going to be the winner. So how Manila plays is each round is broken into 2 phases, and it starts with an auction phase where players are going to bid for the role of Harbor Master. And this is an extremely important title because the Harbor Master has several powerful and important abilities and privileges. The first of which is purchasing an additional share of a good. And only the Harbor Master each round can do that. So that's important because it's difficult to win this game without adding shares of goods to your hand. You can't just have the starting 2 at the end of the game and hope to do very well. Unless, nobody else bought shares as well. So it's a standard auction type situation where one player will start the bidding, and on your turn, you're either going to increase the bid by whatever amount you want, or you're going to pass. And if you pass, you're out. And once everybody passes, whoever was the last to bid pays that amount, and they become the Harbor Master. So the Harbor Master can purchase a share of a good. And then the second ability the Harbor Master has is he's actually going to decide which 3 goods are going to be loaded onto these boats for the round and sent up the river. So one's going to get left behind. So obviously he's going to want to send up the goods that he's got, shares in, and leave one that he doesn't really care about out. Then the third ability that the Harbor Master has is he gets to set the advantage of the boats on the river. So these numbers in dark blue here, the boats can start as high as space number 5 here. When they get across line 13 and come into the harbor, that's safety for the boat. So obviously a boat's going to start farther up the river. It has a better chance of landing safely. And he can set these however he wants. The only stipulation here is that the sum of the 3 starting positions has to equal exactly 9. So you can start a boat at 5 and one at 4 and one at 0. You can start them all at 3 if you want them all to have an equal shot. As long as it's a sum of 9, they're good to go. And finally, the harbor master gets to place his first accomplice or worker. And so that's the second phase of the game after the harbor master has set everything up. The second phase begins, and that's actually the voyage of the boats. And it alternates back and forth 3 rounds of worker placement, where each player is going to place a worker on the board somewhere. And this is really a gambling phase. You're placing workers on the board, and you're hoping to get a payoff from where you're putting them. And after each worker placement phase, then the harbor master is going to roll the dice associated with the 3 goods that are going up the river. And that just determines how far each of the boats move. So you roll the 3 dice, and you move the boats accordingly. And then you place workers again. And that's going to happen 3 times, and then you just see which boats came in and which didn't, and we have a profit distribution phase. So how worker placement works in this game is when it's your turn, you're going to put a worker on one of these numbered spaces. You can put them on the boats, and if you do that, you're simply betting that that boat's going to make it safely into the harbor, at which point that worker is going to earn you a share of the profit from that boat, which is in the number here represented under the coin. So this green boat, the jade boat, for example, it's worth 36 pesos if the boat comes in safely. And each worker on the boat will get a share of that. So if there's 1 guy on there, he's going to get the whole 36. If there's 2, they're going to split it in half. And if there are 3, they're each going to get a third. And it's pretty simple. But that's putting them on the boats. You're hoping it comes in safely. Next, you've got the actual port area up here on the board. And this is where the boats, when they cross the line, they're going to come in safely here. And you can put workers on the docks in the port here. So if you put a worker here, the first boat's coming in on space number A. If you have a worker sitting here and the boat comes in, he's going to get a little bit of a payout. So basically it just goes up. If you put a worker on slot B, you're betting that 2 boats will come in. And if you put a worker over here where the payout is the highest, but the risk is the greatest, as happens almost everywhere in this game, you're betting that all 3 boats will safely come into the harbor. Now, across the harbor, from the ports is a shipyard, which is where the boats that don't make it safely in the harbor after the 3rd movement, they're going to end up there and they need repairs. And it's the same situation over here. You put a worker on slot A and you're betting that at least 1 boat's not going to safely make it into the port. And slot B, 2 boats, and so on. Now, down here below the shipyard, you have the insurance agent's hut. And this is kind of a special case. If you put a worker here, it doesn't cost you anything. That's the cost of the spaces is represented by the number on the circle. You pay it out when you put your worker on there. But the insurance agent is a special case. You just get 10 pesos when you put your worker there immediately. It's the only immediate payout in this game. But the risk is any boat that comes into the shipyard and needs repairs, you're going to have to pay for out of your own pocket. So if it's looking like all 3 boats are coming in safely, then the insurance agent is a free 10 pesos. But you could get really hosed down if 2 or more boats come in and you're going to lose money on that. Across from the insurance hut, you've got these 2 smaller huts here. These are the pilot houses. And these are simply a way to manipulate the position of the boats before the final movement phase. So if you've got a worker here before the dice are rolled for the 3rd and final time, you can move the boats forward or backward on the river to either give an advantage to a boat where you have workers or set back other players' boats. And then finally, the last spot on the board is Stu's favorite spot, the pirate ship. And these pirates, they sit here and they hope that on either the 2nd or 3rd movement phase, a boat is going to stop exactly on unlucky 13. And if that happens, the pirates can either jump on board and ride it into the port on the 3rd movement, or if they land on 13 on the final movement, the pirates just kick everybody off the boat and take the whole plunder for themselves. And Stu, I think you've probably made the best use of the pirates in our past games in Manila. He loves the pirates. He's going there a lot, and I think you made like 50 pesos or more one time. It took 2 or 3 boats. They all landed on 13. It's pretty ridiculous. So
you can get some crazy payouts with the pirates, but it's high risk because you could just be throwing away your money essentially to go onto the pirate ship spaces. But like Pat mentioned, you do have 2 chances on your 2nd or the final roll. If the punt lands there, the boats will land on the 13, then you can get a big payout. And one additional also like great facet of the pirates with the final roll is that if you're able to plunder the boat, you actually choose then if you'd like it to go into port or even shipwreck it, and you'll still collect the sum of the value on the boat. So usually when boats shipwreck, you will not gain money for that share because it never made it into port. But the pirates on the plundering side have the ability to do that. But it's difficult to do. It's not as guaranteed as a lot of the other betting choices in the game.
All right, so after the third movement roll, you're going to check and see where the boats are and who made money and who didn't. Any boat that safely made it into the port increases the value of its load. Whatever good was on it goes up on the track. And then everything gets reset, and it starts over with the next round with the auction again for the Harbor Master. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give you a quick gameplay demo. And Manila is a 3 to 5 player game. There's no 2-player option, but for the purposes of our demo, we're just going to play it out with 2 players so you get an idea of what it's like to play Manila and how the rounds go. And in a 3-player game, and we're going to do this as well in the 2-player game, the first worker placement phase is going to happen twice immediately, and we're each going to place 2 workers. And then we're going to go from there, the second and third placing 1 worker each. So before we started the show today, Stu actually defeated me in mud wrestling, so Stu's going to begin the bidding for the Harbor Master title. So let's go ahead and play.
I have many talents. Pat is he's just not good at rapping or mud wrestling, so I mean. All right, so I'm just going to simply bid 1 for Harbor Master.
10. Go big or go home. That's what I always say.
15.
18.
20.
You know what? You can have it, Stu.
All right. So I'll pay my 20 pesos to the bank. Blue. And now I have enough to buy a share. So even with our shares, if I want to get down here, even though they're below, they're not even on the point tracker here yet, all shares will cost 5 to start. If a share eventually gets above into this 10-20 range, that's actually its new cost when you're the Harbor Master to purchase shares. So I can pay 5 now to buy any share that I would like. So I will pay 5, and I will buy some nutmeg, which I thought was cocoa for a long time. But all right, so put the nutmeg mode on there. Put him up at 5. Let's see, and I'll put these 2 boats on there. And I'll put this one at 3 and this one at 1. So that should total 9, 5, 3, 1. Yep. All right, you got my dice for me?
You need nutmeg die.
Nutmeg die over here.
Poor ginseng left out in the cold.
Yep. All right, so I won't roll yet, but now is my punt placement phase, so I'm going to be able to put my punts out, or my accomplices, not my punts.
Punts are boats.
Yeah, the punts are the boats. My bad. So I paid 2, and I'm going to go on this first space of the nutmeg boat.
The Nutmeg Express. I think that I'm going to get on there too. You can't have a monopoly on nutmeg, Stu, and that's going to cost me 3 coins to the bank. All right.
Mm-hmm. All right. Gosh, only have 3 left. This kind of stinks. I will pay 3, and I'm gonna say that this B spot, 2 boats are coming in. That's what I'm gonna guess right now.
All right. Well, I think I'm gonna fill out the nutmeg boat here for 4. Get 2 shares of that boat when it comes into the port.
Well, hopefully, I'm a notoriously bad roller. So let's see what happens.
You're gonna roll good this time, Stu. I can feel it.
Yeah, obviously when I don't have the most shares in my own boat. All right, so here's my
for.
roll.
That could have been better.
It could have been better.
All right, so the unloved silk boat moves 1 space.
And then 3 spaces for the other 2.
All right, well, I think that nutmeg still has a fair shake there. So now we're in the second worker placement.
All right, so I'm out of money, so I would either have to sell a share if I wanted to, or I can simply play on the insurance space, which I will do instead. And this might be very bad for me, but I'm going to take 10 pesos, and that is my action.
I'm going to get on this jade boat here. I think that jade might have its day. 3 pesos there. All right, let's see what they do.
Next roll.
Roll better this time, Stu.
Yeah, right. Ooh, much better. Yeah.
All right, well, Silk is coming up, 5.
Yep.
And 5 for Jade.
Cool.
And we got 4 for Nutmeg. All right. Yeah, it's not looking too bad.
No, not that bad, no.
So final placement round here.
Okay.
Last accomplice going on the board.
I'm gonna pay 4. Get back 6. And place on this boat.
You want in on that Jade now, don't you?
Well, yeah, I can't give you 36 by yourself. It's got a good chance of coming in though, so.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna do the pirate thing, I think, and maybe one of these boats. All 3 boats have a chance of landing on my pirate ship spot. So make that happen, Stu. You can do it. I have confidence in you.
I have confidence that these are gonna go in. Get a nice roll here. Oh yeah.
It's pretty good. Well, blue is 4, so actually the
blue did not make it still, which is all right.
Didn't make it in. It's going over here to the.
These ones had.
More than enough.
More than enough. So
Jade and Nutmeg successfully into the port.
So
now, Stu, I think that you need to pay out for this one shipwrecked boat.
Yes.
Sadly, all your money. So 6 pesos to the bank.
Yes, I do. Luckily, I had 6 to pay.
Worker over there.
Correct.
And my pirate, nothing happened with the pirate because they passed him by. So he's just going to come home. And so we have 2 boats that came in safely. So we have Jade and Nutmeg increasing in value, or moving toward an increase in value. They're still at 0, but they're at least moving on up. And on the Jade boat, Stu and I each get a share of that. And that's
you split it in half, so we each get 18 pesos.
18 pesos. And then yep, and I had 2 guys on the Nutmeg boat. So that is 16 pesos for me and 8 pesos for you. All right.
And then I get an additional 8 pesos for having 2 boats come into the ship.
Yes,
into port, I should say. So 8, so now 16, right? On top of, this is 18, 16, so there you go.
So that is one round of Manila. Everybody collects their workers, and we start again with the auction.
And whoever was the previous harbor master will begin the new auction by starting the bid. And gameplay will continue until one share has reached a value of 30, and then the game will end, and you'll count up all the shares and additional extra pesos you have and see who the winner is. So.
All right. So obviously we like Manila, one of our favorite games. As I said at the outset, the reason that I like this game primarily is because it plays very quickly. There's very little downtime. Everybody's actively involved for the whole game. Like I said, the harbor master bidding is usually pretty intense. It's super important, and you get a ton of privileges and advantages for taking that role. It usually goes quite high, and there's this constant balancing act between how much money you're willing to risk, because you want to hold on to some money so that you can pay for your worker placement. But at the same time, you really want to be the harbor master, as often as possible in this game. I
definitely ran into that situation where I forgot, we start with the 30 pesos to begin, and I bid 20 to be the harbor master. But obviously, you still want to buy a share, because that's a very important part of being a harbor master. So I only had 5 pesos to use to place my workers, which, as you saw, I was forced to place on the insurance to get more funds to hopefully, get more pesos later on, and it worked out okay.
You run into those situations. There is a rule in the game where if you are out of money and you need to spend money, you can loan out one of your shares for 12 pesos. But at the end of the game, if it's still loaned out, it's negative 15 points to your score, and you can pay 15 pesos anytime during the game to get it back. So it's kind of on lien to the bank. It's loaned out, it doesn't count for you, but it's a way to get extra money, and sometimes it can be advantageous if you just need that extra boost of income to win Harbor Master or get a better placement and make some money. You got to spend money to make money in this game, and it's that whole balancing act. And even when you're not the Harbor Master, what the Harbor Master does at the start of each round happens pretty quickly, and everybody's paying attention because you want to see what share they're buying. It's important, like in this game here, there's only one share of Nutmeg left. That tells you that, they're out there in other players' hands. And so if you don't have them, somebody else does, and you don't want nutmeg to rise up in value too fast. And if you do have it, then it's good, other players are trying to increase the value of that good as well as you. And, when the rolling is happening to move the boats, everybody's paying attention and cheering on their boats or booing for the boats they don't want to come in. When the pirates hit big, everybody cheers, even if you just get kicked off of a boat. Or lost a boat. It's it's fun when it happens and you see that risk pay off. And there's very little negativity in this game. It's just a fun game. Even if you're doing poorly, you always feel like you can get back in with one big score. You take a big risk and it pays off for you, and all of a sudden you're sitting on a large bank. It's just fun. It's a quick game. I don't think that I would really change anything about this game. You can, if you're playing with new players, the rules of the game start all of the value of the goods down here. With new players, you might start them up here, maybe even start them each at 5, just to make the game a little shorter, get people into the flow so they see how it goes. We've done that a couple times, and even starting all the way at the bottom, depending on how fast certain goods raise in value, it can be over pretty quickly. But it doesn't really change the game too much to manipulate that a little bit if you want to do that. But finally, my other comment on this game is that it's just a gorgeous game. The components are top notch. I think honestly it's probably got the best coins of any board game. These nice plastic coins with raised numbers on them, and they've got little raised detailing around them. Different colors for the coins for the different denominations and values. And one thing about this game is that there's not a ton of coins with the game, and it always feels like we're going to run out, but we never do. So I think they got a good number of them in here.
Good denominations choices for these coins, and for the prices and the payouts that you get, kind of making a good change amounts. So.
And the artwork on the board is great. It's very colorful. It's just a fun game to look at. The wooden boats are nice, the way that the goods fit right on there. It's just everything comes together really well in this game. And like I said, I've never introduced this game to a gamer who hasn't liked it and just hasn't, by the end of it, they either want to play again or they want to buy it. And that's a problem, actually, because Manila has been out of print for a while. This game actually came out in 2005, and I'm sorry if we got you excited talking about it. It looks like a lot of fun. It's pretty difficult to find. It's not impossible. There's copies out there still, but you're going to pay a premium to get them. And Stu actually recently went through this. He loved the game so much that he wanted to get his own copy. And you actually contacted Rio Grande.
That's correct, yeah. I actually emailed Rio Grande just to see if they were going to be doing a potential reprint of the game in the near future at all. I simply got a no answer back for whatever reasons. They aren't going to be reprinting this, so I had to, by other means, obtain the game. And luckily I was able to get it at a very reasonable price, I'd even say, for how rare it is actually to find it. But I really enjoy the game. I fell in love with it. I'm a gambler myself, you could say, so I like to kind of take those risks. And I usually do pretty poorly, honestly, but I still love to come back and keep playing it every time. So
you got a copy on eBay, right?
I did get one on eBay. Yes, okay. Yeah, that was my ability. So
I was looking into it a little bit, trying to see where copies were out in the world before this show. If you want a brand new copy, Amazon has them, but they're about $200. So that's probably not super reasonable, but like Stu found one on eBay. I think there was a store in Europe somewhere that still had copies, and they were selling them for not an unreasonable price, but you depending on where you live, you're gonna pay some extra postage and shipping to get it to you.
Mine wasn't new at all. It was obviously eBay, generally used, but it was in very good condition, so it was great. And then BGG does the marketplace and stuff, so they put up a lot of the newer games, and you can always kind of check there, but definitely harder to come by, but it's a great game. It's really fun.
Not impossible to find, but
impossible, but
yeah, definitely. 2005 was a while back, and there's still copies out there. But I highly recommend it. It's a great game to have in the collection. I can't think of any other game really that is in the same genre as this. It's its own unique thing. There's definitely worker placement games. You're doing that here, but it's not like any other worker placement game. The gambling aspect is unlike any other gambling game I've played. And it just all comes together very easily and seamlessly and just plays smoothly. It's a fantastic game. And Stu loves it too.
Yes, I do.
I think did any extra thoughts on that, or I said everything that I said what you feel.
For the most part, yeah.
Game.
I didn't really have any particular extra comments. I mean, you mentioned I love the pirate ship, and I do. I waste a lot of money going on the pirate ship, but it's fun. It's all good fun.
Pirates are always good.
So,
well, thank you everybody for tuning in. This was our first episode of the show, and we're excited to be doing this. And I want to give a special thanks to our director / cameraman / lighting technician / what else do you do, Jason? Jason Roper, behind the scenes here.
Mexican wrestler.
There's his giant disembodied thumb. Mexican wrestler. Gaffer, best boy. Craft services employee. I don't know what else Jason does. He does a lot. Editor. He's putting these together.
Yes.
He's a film student, so he's got the expertise. He's got the goods. And we really appreciate it.
Yeah, so, we'll be having him in on a few of these games too to help us do some gameplay demonstrations as well. It should be fun then as well. So, yeah.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.